Okay, well, thanks for coming. This is kind of short notice. I know you guys have been busy with other stuff today. First and foremost, obviously the Sheriff's Association is staying united in our message that we are here to try to help fix this problem. As you all know, the sheriffs are legislatively mandated to operate driver's license, just like where we are here today. We don't have a choice in that. The legislature sets that mandate. And so what we're concerned about, probably more than any simple thing, we couldn't underscore enough that the citizens and the customers of driver's license throughout the state of Idaho are the ones who are really taking a beating on this thing. These people are leaving their jobs to come to get their driver's license renewed or get a driver's license. School kids who are getting their first license, doing things of that nature. People who have CDL licenses who do this for a living. They have a CDL license, they've got to get it renewed, and unfortunately they have not been able to do many of the things I've just mentioned. So right out the gate I want to emphasize, it's the people who are suffering more than any of us, more than ITD, and in addition to the people who are coming, the customers, it's the people the staff, the driver's licenses for every single one of these sheriffs, my office, and all the sheriff's offices across the state. These staff have done an incredible and impeccable job to the point they're so frustrated, as I was told earlier, some staff members coming to work and they're already in tears when they get here because of what they're trying to fix something that they can't fix. They don't have the ability. So having said that, I'm going to say a few things about how we got here, how we feel that we've got here, and then I'm going to have the other sheriffs speak to some of the more pointed issues. This system, when we were told by ITD that they were going to bring the system online, we asked ITD to not bring it online in August. We asked ITD to bring it on in December. Give more time, more research with this company, with this vendor. And I'm going to go back to what I said a few moments ago. The sheriffs do not have any authority in securing that vendor. We're only mandated to operate what we are given, which is very problematic. And so as the sheriff, it's out of our hands as to what vendor is chosen, what programs are chosen. That's by ITD. We have no authority in that. And that's an unfortunate matter. Once they said they're going to do it, we were concerned about no beta testing site. How's this thing going to, when it gets launched, what's going to happen? And unfortunately, that date was held in August, and you saw what has resulted in the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks almost. That's been very problematic. We've been shut down many times. We're shut down today across the state. And I'll tell you what's glaring for us is that we are not getting the information back from ITD that we feel that we need to be getting out to the public. They have help desks set up, but the help desks at times are saying, well, call the sheriff's office. Well, we don't have the ability to get into that system. We don't have that authority. So those are one of the biggest issues we have. Another issue we have is that we have officers in the street who cannot run driver's licenses. When they stop a car, they're having to walk up to these cars blind. They can't run NCIC. They don't know who they're approaching because the system is down. Think of that if you're an officer. Think of that if you're for a public safety standpoint. So a lot of this is about public safety, certainly about our citizens. I'm a little concerned about some of the responses we've gotten from ITD. I think I've made that very plain. And as the president of this association, I speak for all of our sheriffs. They're very frustrated. They have tremendous staff. They want to do everything right. But what I get really irritated with is when I hear reports on the news or emails come about that information is the sheriff's fault. It's the staff hasn't learned the system enough. The staff isn't good enough on the system. That's not the case here, people. Our staff we have shut down our offices for days to do their training. We've sent staff to super user training at the county's expenses. So this is not the staff's fault. This is not the sheriff's fault. What I don't want is I don't want to keep getting blamed as sheriffs for this massive, unstable program that is out there. And I'll probably move away from that. I think you've got my point. I think that another thing that came up today as I'm sitting here waiting for this, I understand that the director has done his own press conference, and I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is the fact that I had to listen to a press conference to know that allegedly ITD is coming up with a solution that they're going to implement on Thursday. Where's the communication? We have not heard that until I sat in that room over there and listened to his press conference. That's the types of things that we're getting out of the ITD or that we're not getting. Moving forward, we need better communication from the director of ITD. We need that interface. We need that ability to say, look, we all should agree this system is flawed, this system is unstable, this system is dangerous because of public safety, because of our officers, etc., and we do need to find a solution. And in our opinion, this system needs to be scrapped. We know the state spent a lot of money putting this system in place, but it's not working. And we believe it's time to scrap that system and move on to another vendor or whatever it takes to get this thing under control. I think that's going to be a hit to the taxpayer, but believe me, the taxpayers are taking a hit right now by having to leave work every day, come to our offices. In my office, I can give you examples of them coming in and sitting there for 5 hours and walking away with nothing. 5 hours. Think of that. They have work, they have babysitters, they have families. And as I understood from this press release that was press conference that was just done by the director, this solution is supposed to be implemented on Thursday. I'm not aware of what that is. If it is this paper proxy program that ITD's website is telling the sheriffs have the ability to do, we are not interested. It does not work. It's fraught with dangers. Again, we cannot verify who these people are. We cannot verify if they register for a license, if they're qualified to have a license. We cannot do money transactions. We can't track those transactions. And once we do it, we have to go back in and re-enter the system if it and when it comes back up, which was done in Ada County yesterday. So, I think I've probably done all I need to do for this press conference. That's the history of it. That's where we are. I will say this. Moving forward, I have spoke to the governor's office as recently within the hour. The governor would like to have us all work together, and we as a Sheriff Association support that. We want to work together with the governor's office. We want to work together with ITD. What I've told the governor's office is this. Everyone has to take their own accountability on this thing. People can't just be shoving it off to the sheriffs. There's a lot more players in this room, and the sheriffs don't have the authority to implement the systems from those vendors. So as long as people take accountability, we're going to work very well together. But we have to find a way forward. We got to quit blaming the sheriff and the sheriff's staff. We got to do whatever we can for the public. But moving forward, this is a very, very serious matter for the people of Idaho, for the state of Idaho, for the taxpayers. Above all, I'll underline it again, public safety. We are really at risk out there, all of your officers. So with that, I'm going to turn my time over to Steve Anderson, Sheriff of Jefferson County.
Thank you. I'd like to start by echoing some of Sheriff Donahue's comments from the eastern side of the state. I represent the Tri-County Association over there, which is 18 sheriffs. The frustration is boiled over with our driver's license services and our citizens, but that is our utmost concern, is that our citizens are getting the service they deserve and pay for. We have waits in a medium-sized county of 45 minutes to 2 hours for every transaction. And then I get emails from ITD stating that our system's up, and I'm standing in our driver's license, and the system is down. They can't operate. So the frustration is we have no control over that system. We have no way to have our IT personnel work on that system to get it up, to help our customers that are coming in, as Sheriff Donahue said, with kids trying to get into driver's ed, trying to get their driver's license, people trying to get concealed weapons permit, sex offender registry. Our whole office shuts down. And it really does cramp the ability to serve our citizens. With that said, I would like to also echo, we're willing to work with a system that works for us, but we're given a system that we have no control over, zero. If we could get a system that our partners at ITD would allow it to function properly so our citizens would have the service they deserve, that's where we would like to see this go. And I agree, I don't know the solution, and I haven't heard of a solution that's going to be implemented by Thursday, but I really wish that we would have been informed of that. So I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you being here today. It allows us, the Idaho Sheriff's Association, and myself, your Ada County Sheriff, to get the message out to our people, because here in Ada County, we're having anywhere from 1,500 to 1,700 people a day that use this office to come and receive services for their driver's license. In our blog post yesterday, I clearly defined that we have all of our stations open. We have our staff here ready to serve the public, but we're unable to do that for you. And that's frustrating from our side, the sheriff's seat. And so having the ability to get this message out to you that we're very limited on what we can do to solve this issue. Yes, we've been at the table for now about 2 years working with ITD to implement this new program, implement the new software, figure out a way to make this transition smooth for our citizens and everybody that uses this product across the state. And so I'm very appreciative of all of our sheriffs being at the table and willing to do their effort with their staff to make sure that we're taking care of our citizens. Because above everything, that's what we're here to do. Make sure that the product we deliver to you is what you need. And unfortunately, these men standing behind me and across the state that stand alongside of us, we are not able to deliver that product to our citizens. And for that, we're very frustrated, and we're looking for a solution. I echo our other sheriffs in saying we've been at the table every day waiting for the doors to open so that we can do our jobs. We're unaware of what this solution is coming tonight or Thursday or next week. I am very skeptical of what that may look like because what we've been delivered so far and what we've been given to use as the product to deliver the driver's license to our citizens absolutely has been a failure. And for that, I'm sorry to our citizens. You deserve a lot better from ITD and their customer service. And so with that, I know we will stand for any questions that you may have from the media.
Sheriff, just to clarify, so when the driver's license system is down and a deputy makes like a traffic stop, so they can't run that person's driver's license in the system?
So when we run a driver's license in the system, it's very limited. So if you can imagine that all of the driver's licenses that we are issuing, we're doing that in a temporary form because the system won't allow us to input live data. And so that data is put in a holding pattern. And so when our officers in the field run information, it's not giving us current, accurate data. If somebody has just renewed a driver's license, somebody has a license that's potentially suspended or revoked, we don't have that information.
What about outstanding warrants or something like that? Is that information, you're not able to get that information as well?
So our outdated or updated warrant system is ran through our record systems, and so locally sheriff's offices have that data for local warrants, but it does put our national and NCIC and ILITS warrants at risk for having current information.
Well, I want to make sure I'm clear on something. The Gemalto, I believe, the vendor, this system was just installed August 13th, right? So this is a fairly new system, just up and running August 13th that we're talking about, correct? Even though these kinds of problems have preceded this.
That is correct. We went live on the 13th. We have had a plan in place to implement that software and that program for quite some time now, but the implementation went live on the 13th. And since that go live, we've been down just about every day and really struggling to be able to put that information into our system.
Have any of you here encountered this kind of frustration with ITD before, or another state agency before? Or is this something new, this level of frustration?
Well, Scott, this is the highest, probably the highest level of frustration we have had. However, we have been dealing with issues with ITD for a number of years. And of course, to ITD's credit, the old system was antiquated, and it did need to be changed. It's been in place for a long time. But even systems that were used last year, upgrades, if you will, we had problems then too. And we were down, and you all know that. You know the citizens that have complained a year ago going to the driver's license. It may or may not be up and running. It may take more than 15 minutes. It may take hours to get that thing done. So this isn't the first level of frustration. This is the highest level that I have personally experienced with ITD, and you got to give credit to some of those ITD folks that are on the front line. They're struggling too, right? They need solutions. So this is a huge battle in terms of, when I say battle, a battle to fix a massive problem that affects every single citizen in the state, and it affects every employee of ITD and certainly every employee of these sheriff's offices. I hope that helps answer your question, and anyone else could answer that in terms of the frustration levels. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
I know that it's been suggested that a change in Idaho code is needed to take this away from your offices and have ITD run the driver's license system statewide. Is that something that you see as a possible solution in the future?
Well, I think it's a possible solution to get the sheriff's out from underneath this. I don't think it fixes the entire problem, as we've just explained. But we're only one of the few states in the union that the sheriff operates driver's license. This is a function of ITD, and yet it's a legislative mandate. The legislature decided to have sheriffs do it years ago. We believe, and we will be lobbying to that effect, to have the legislature change that this coming session, to take this out of the responsibility of the sheriff. It does not belong there. We have a lot of, as you know, a lot of duties, a lot of mandates, a lot of statutory and constitutional duties, and we have great staff. I can't emphasize that enough. But this is not our function. This should be the function of ITD.
Can you expand on your conversation with Governor Otter? Did he seem open to shifting this from your offices back to ITD?
Let me be clear. My conversation was with the governor's office. He's very in tune. The governor and I, as everyone knows, are friends. We're very close on these matters, and he has an open door. When I call, they allow me in. That particular subject matter did not come up about moving this to, not in today's conversation, about moving it out of the sheriff's responsibilities. However, you've all read the letter that I sent to the governor last week, and I clearly outlined in the letter that I would like his support and the lieutenant governor's support in moving that come the new legislative session. Obviously, we're going to have a change in the governorship in November, taking office in January, and so really can't comment on that. But in today's conversation, my conversation with the office was more about how do we move forward, how do we bring all the parties together more amicably than where we've been, and try to find a solution statewide, and that's going to be having a lot of people involved. So I hope that answers your question on that.
And Sheriff, have you been, I guess, the times previous, I guess a lot, where the driver's license services haven't been working, have you been satisfied with ITD's response as to why they're not working, as whether it's just like a bug or whatever issue?
Well, yes and no, I guess. No, I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied because the fixes haven't been the fixes. We haven't fixed anything. And in any new system, you're going to run into bugs, you're going to run into hurdles, you're going to run into software problems. That's my emphasis, why whether we look backwards in time that we can't change, or whether we look forward that we can change, we need a beta testing site. So we have stations that says, wow, we didn't think that was going to happen, and let the vendor, whoever that vendor is, fix that software program or that problem that's inside of it. So I've been very frustrated that we didn't do that initially, because we asked for that, and it wasn't done. And as a sheriff, and as these sheriffs would tell you, when we contract with a vendor through our counties, we hold them to a very high level of productivity, or we get rid of them. And that hasn't been done by ITD with this vendor. I think Mr. Gonzalez's comments on his press conference a few minutes ago was that maybe now's the time to start looking at that possibility. But no, I've not been happy. I've not been happy when our own people, our staff, call the helpline, the ITD helpline, and you get a recording. You don't get a human. How's that going to help the staff member who's trying to help the customer of the state of Idaho? And then when we finally do get someone, I've had instances where you got to hold someone and say, well, we're going to have to find someone to help you with that. Well, you're the helpline. That makes no sense to me. We could not run our offices that way, and neither could any of you. And so they need to be held. That's why I say the accountability needs to be held to that standard that we all enjoy and all experience. So hopefully that answers some of it.
You say the system went live on August 13th, but you were dealing with it for 2 years
years prior. Can you elaborate on
I'm going to turn that back over to Sheriff Bartlett because I think he's a little more versed in the line of thinking you were on the 2 years.
Question was, how long have we been working with them?
Yeah,
or?
so it went live on August 13th, but what were you working with the system?
So we had a partnership across the state as a county engagement team, and so with the assistance of ITD, we would meet on a regular basis to figure out a plan for implementation and to try to navigate some of those foreseen bugs that could be out there as we transitioned. And so not only for this changeover with the system, but all things driver's license, all things ITD related to our driver's license requests and service that we provide. Those are the types of meetings that we've been actively involved with and at the table with to find solutions.
Have any of your offices been involved in the RFP process? Did they take comment from you? Did you have any sort of weigh in on that? No.
We don't have the authority to do that.
It's solely an ITD function of the state. We would love to have been part of the discussion, though. So, with that, we will close, and some of us will be staying around if you need individual appointments. We'll do that for a few minutes, but for now, we'll be done with the press conference. Thank you.